we come to prepare this individual. I'm not going to touch on the core curriculum because, as you well know, the curriculum at any law school is very difficult to change, and in the U.S. it's very much structured after the guidelines of the American Bar Association. What I think is very important is how we prepare, more than train, how we educate and how we expose our students beyond that core curriculum that we have in the law schools. And one way to do it is through co-curricular subjects. And in 2001, I started a global internship program, so I come here talking a little bit of my experience with the students and our law school. Now, when you think in the U.S., you're thinking, okay, these guys have a big budget, they're not really running after some paper, and they are not very worried about their salaries, and they have all the technical tools at their disposal. But, of course, a big surprise, we all have to adapt to the new changes. Recession has reached the U.S. in so many ways, but it has also touched higher education. And we are not alien to these changes, we have to adapt. And in order to do so, we have to begin to look around and do things in innovative, creative ways. Now, I'm not going to compare a university, although the University of Georgia, and I may say so, it's the first public university of the U.S. It was founded in 1785. And the law school is ranked number 26 among the law schools in the U.S., which is a very high ranking for a public law school. But of course, being Argentinian, I tend to look things from different perspectives. Thank you. And I always try to think out of the box. I'm a person that thinks that law should be handled as any other science, and if we are asking scientists to be innovative, creative, we are asking very few lawyers, law professors, and law schools to do the same. And I think we can do an enormous amount of things with very little money, but adding so much more elements to the legal education. And let me explain how I envision this. As I said, in 2001, I started the program where I had a couple of students who had been my research assistants, and they spoke Spanish, and I could not pay them during the year for wonderful work they had been doing as researchers. So I decided to send them during the summer to take some classes in Argentina. I got a grant for them, $6,000, and I sent the two of them with $3,000 each. Okay, so at the same time, I'm Associate Director of the Dean-Ross Center for International Law. I'm also the Director of an international judicial training program, which has been training judges from abroad since 1998. And so I thought, okay, why don't I use all these many contacts I have around the world, and I began to send the law students abroad. This last summer, I sent 30 students to 18 countries to work during the summer. Now, why I say it's so important co-curricular activities in the preparation of the lawyers with a world-class education. Because if we try to change each time there is an advancement, an innovation, any sort of changes, we try to change our core curriculum, we're going to find that we're always late, very late in the changes. We're always at the end of the road, and you know as well as I do, developments happen quickly and doesn't wait or do not wait for anybody to follow. So co-curricular activities such as the clinics, such as the moot courts, such as internships. And when I say internships, I'm not only talking about internships abroad, I'm talking about working around the law school, meaning 3 blocks from the law school. One of the things I find interesting is we're preparing the students to think with a legal mind, but we are not preparing the students to be proactive in public interest work, in doing outreach and doing service. That has to be one of the elements of any future lawyer. As I said, this year I sent 30 students abroad. Among the countries I sent them, and I want to explain a little bit what type of work. I sent the students, in fact 2 students, to Cambodia to work in Heritage Watch in the protection. Heritage Watch is an NGO helping to protect the trade of antiquities. I mean, trying to avoid the trade of antiquities. And all the looting out of Angkor. I sent students to Papua New Guinea to work in the abstracts of the Supreme Court judgments to put together the final reviews of the judgments. I sent students to Europe to work, for example, 2 students to work in Bratislava in refugee camps under the Human Rights League, working with the gypsies. I sent students to work in Bolivia with the Aymara Indians in a foundation called Fundación Empresa Trabajo. It's trying to set up small and medium-sized businesses for the Aymara Indians in Santa Cruz de Bolivia. Okay, so I have sent students all over the place, and the intention is not to send them only to law firms, which I've done, but to send them to NGOs, human rights organizations, international courts. I sent a student to International Criminal Court of Rwanda. And you may think that this entails a lot of money. Well, there are ways, and I've been trying to be also creative in that way to get funds. Not only there is the support from the law school of 1,500 to each student to offset their expenses, but I try to encourage the students to get a small grant from organizations, foundations. Now, what's the result of this? Okay, if we're going to have a world-class education, we need the students to know their world. It's not only the state of Georgia, they need to know the U.S., but they need to know what's all about outside the U.S. Do they need to get out of the U.S.? Well, in my case, I try to expose them to other systems because I think that U.S. students have a very, I would say, narrow understanding of the world beyond the limits of the country. And what I found out is they come more interested than ever to do very creative things. I'm getting students who, after have done the internship, have decided to finish their law degree and go to do human rights. Another student decided to work for a Palestinian camp in Jordan, in Amman, Jordan. Students are coming back with new ideas, and what I say to them is, there is a life beyond the law firm, there is a life beyond the corporate in-house counsel, there is a life beyond the tribunal, the courts, and so seek that what you like the best. One of the students came this year saying, I love art, but nobody's listening to what I love, so I'm going to quit law school because I don't find any platform here for what I really love. And I said, why did you enter law school? Well, I thought I could do something related to art. And I said, yes, you can. So I sent her to London, to Sotheby's and Christie's, to get into their libraries and see the certification of origin of the artwork that's being sold by the two auction houses, to see in which ways people are looting art out of the countries and what they're doing with that. When we today talk about terrorism, one of the major financial incomes for terrorism is the looting of art. Southeast Asia has an enormous problem. They're getting art out of Cambodia and taking it to Thailand, and from there Hong Kong, and flying to London and New York to the auction houses. Okay, so we're talking about how to prepare the students for the world that's coming to them. I spent a lot of time thinking, what will this world of them look in 5 years, 10 years? Will it be the huge law firm? No longer. The law firms are cutting costs at all sides. Huge law firms in the US are letting partners go, not associates, but partners. A major law firm in New York just let go 40% of their professional group. And that means that that life is no longer valid for one of our students in 5 years. So just to perhaps discuss and let you this idea that we do not have to have an enormous amount of money to think beyond, to think out of the box. What I see here in India for the very few days is there is an enormous amount of work to be done by very proactive law students. Just get out in the streets, help somebody, go to local NGOs, try to help a health center. Somewhere there is a disabled, a center for disabled people, or a center for people with mental health problems. You know that health law, poverty law, art law, entertainment law, all these things are coming, and they're quickly becoming important areas of law. So we don't need to send the students to 30 or 18 countries. There's an enormous amount of work for the students to be done around their law school. So one of the things is to ask the students to be proactive, involved in public interest, in outreach activities, in public service. That's one of way to expose them to what is coming to them. Anyway, how many minutes do I have? Or nothing?
Just 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute. I wrap up. I understand the difference between law schools across the border. Some are trying to survive just to keep the classroom open, and others are trying to, as we are trying to do, is send the students abroad. But at the end of the day, we want the same profile in a lawyer. So the way we go about it depends on how innovative, creative, and how committed we are to change our legal education in those areas. Thanks.
For how your co-curricular activities are, one, student-centric, two, how they are centric to cross-border understanding, and three, how they are equally centric for cross-border legal understanding. I guess these issues or these, these parameters are important enough for public interest law in India for the last. I think it's more or less a PR relationship or PR exercise rather than anything getting substantively done in areas which are so vital for a country like India.